What's the matter, Kakarot?
Good morning, and welcome to another Sunday morning with the Blurred Church of Anime. I am your preacher, your pastor, your messenger, your cult leader, whatever you want to call me. I am Black Star. In the spirit of the spooky season, I'm here with my little familiar who is, being a troublemaker this morning, but we love it. I'm happy to be here with you in another week. I hope you had a fantastic week. I hope that you went out and did some civic things because you know that we had some elections happening on Tuesday. If you are in America and are voting age and are eligible to vote, if you weren't able to, but you're following the politics of it all, I hope things turned out in the way you wanted to and you got the people who you know could vote to go out and do it. I hope you felt like you were productive, and if you just needed to not be productive and sleep, I hope you got that done as well. So I hope you, again, just general had a good week, if it's not a busy one. And like we always say, if last week wasn't, to your standards, to your liking, well then, F last week. It's over. It's done. We are banking on a better week, and for some of us, I think next week will be better. I think it'll, we're seeing an uptrend of some really wonderful things. I know it was like, no, we're back in November, but I've still been on some like spooky vibes. Did a whole thing about witches, and I'm not quite out of the woods there. I think all of fall is going to be a little bit spooky for me. But after talking about witches and then the election, American elections on Tuesday, I found myself thinking about something on a whole nother spectrum. And this may be a little bit more of a political message than I normally do. I have not been like very open or shared what my like political leanings are. I think you can kind of guess from just some of the messages I've already done and just some of the morals that I profound and the things that I think are important. And I think I'm not shy about it. I just in general, we're not seeing face to face. This is not a really established community quite yet. And I've always gone to churches where pastors, talked about politics in the pulpit, which I don't have any problem with. I think the political is personal and like your morals and your life is kind of ran by politics. So it makes sense that you have to like address that for people. But yeah, because I think what I really want to talk about is it's going to reveal a few things about what my thought process is around people and politics and all of that. Which don't be, if that turns you off, that's cool. You always feel free to disagree with me, debate me. Like none of that stuff hurts my feelings at all. Like I am a person, I have opinions, and then I'm taking anime to make, I think, are positive messages that I hope helps people in their lives and transform them. But I also know that like everyone doesn't share exactly my same morals or my same leanings, and that's completely okay. I don't mean I don't want you to be part of this community, but you have to make a choice that is for yourself, and I'm okay with that. But yeah, I was thinking a lot about witches and spooky stuff, and then I went the complete opposite this week and was like, I want to talk about magical girls. And you're probably thinking, why magical girls? Well, first off, magical girl anime has a very special place in my heart. I got into anime because of magical girls, specifically Sailor Moon. As you see, I wear my Sailor Jupiter shirt today. I was in the fourth grade, or I was going into the fourth grade, the summer of fourth grade, and I decided that I was going to be an adult. I was going to stop watching cartoons, and I was going to watch the news like a real grown up. And I don't know, I was a weird child. Just, I don't know. I don't know why I thought in fourth grade I needed to watch the news. Mm. But I mentioned this to a friend. We were at some summer camp at our school, and she was like, but you should watch Sailor Moon. It's pretty cool. I think you'll like it. And I was like, Sailor Moon's for babies. Ah, da, 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 da. She's like, nah, you should go watch it. And I did that afternoon, and I've been hooked ever since. So thank you, Selena, for, convincing me to go watch Sailor Moon. And it just had a whole downhill effect on me where I got really into everything that was animated. It changed the trajectory of my life from someone being like, I'm not gonna watch cartoons anymore and watch the news to someone who, at this big age right now, is still talking about cartoons, namely anime, and now magical girls. And I did. I ate Sailor Moon all the way up, and it got me into so many other different shows. I remember when Card Captor Sakura came out. I was so into Card Captors and WB Kids. I remember when I finally got started getting into the internet of anime and being able to find old things. I was really into Magic Knight Rare Earth. I got into Pre-Tier. I got into um, Revolutionary Girl Utena. Like you couldn't tell me a girl with some powers wasn't it. Like that was the pinnacle. Maybe not the pinnacle, but it was definitely my jam of anime. Tokyo Mew Mew, and I still to this day love a good magical girl, and it's a version of magical girls. Like Madoka Magica is still a really, really good one for me. But I realize that all magical girl series and groups and plots are not equal or not the same. And I started thinking about what type of magical girl content did I gravitate to, and I tend like with Sailor Moon being my first. I tend to gravitate to where then you may have like essential magical girl, but you also have a collective, like they're girls. They are a group, whether they're an idol group, a singing group, classmate group, whatever. It is never just one person doing the world saving, even though it may start off that way. At some point, they get henchmen, sidekicks, whatever. Like you, no magical girl is really doing it on her own, and I tend to love those series. And as I started thinking about a lot of times, like even if I didn't love the main character, but because there were so many different other magical girls and characters that I could like respond to and feel connection to, I realized like if you have a group there, it is great. And Sailor Moon, I think, is the epitome of that. I was never a big Usagi fan. Serena from the 90s anime version. She'll tell you she's 12, she's 13. She is not the smartest. She's not the smartest. She's barely passing her classes, if that. She will tell you herself that she is a crybaby, she's a coward, very wimpy, not mature. And then you meet the original four Sailor Scouts, Mercury, Mars, Jupiter, and Venus, and they're all so much cooler than Usagi. Sailor Mercury is like a genius. She's so smart. Sailor Mars is that girl. Like she comes in and she tells you she's that girl and she backs it up with her flame powers. Sailor Jupiter, clearly my favorite, comes off like this like powerful, could be like a tomboy, but like super feminine. Love like she's like the mom of the group. She's baking for everybody. I loved her. And then Sailor Venus, everyone thought she was the princess because she just comes with like this like high class royal air, and then she could be a bit ditzy like Isagi, but she was always a really good scout. Like she knew what's going on. She had the tactical advantages. And then when we brought in the outer planets, don't even get me started on Uranus and Neptune and Pluto. Like Pluto's my girl. So we have, there's so many different people that you can identify with, and they all are very powerful in their own right. But you still have the central figure that is Sailor Moon, and other shows like Pre-Tier. Even though there is one magical girl, she has the knights who like help with her transformation. Magic Girl Wraith, I think I liked all three of them. They're actually pretty interesting. Tokyo Mew Mew. I always like the mean magical girl, the one who's just like I have a type. But one thing I really liked about it is that even though Usagi really couldn't at the beginning was like fighting on her own until she meets the other Sailor Scouts, she really wasn't fighting on her own either because the Sailor Master's always there like throw the tiara, Sailor Moon, like reminding her to like finish the fight. So she's always had help. And I think I like that. I think I love the idea of someone with magical powers who is trying to defend the world and not doing it alone. I think that's the really interesting part of Madoka Magica is this idea of these girls who are just doing it alone. And then it's like, oh, or we could do it together. And it's like, wow, that's a that's a new thought, Um, tragedy happens when you do everything alone or you're the only magical girl around. So I tend to love that there are more than one magical girls and they become a group. And I mean, outside of anime, I really got into Wings Club. Like, it really reminded me of Sailor when I was into it. And I do love the idea that the main theme of magical girl anime, when there's multiple magical girls, is that the friendship is really the magic. The caring, the group is super important. If you didn't know, I'm also My Little Pony Friendship is Magic fan. I just check all these boxes, y'all. I'm not sorry, but if you thought it, I am. But it's not just about the whole friendship breeds more power, or you get power friendship will defeat all evils. There is something that I really seen through as a thread in Magical Girl anime that kind of leans more towards like some of my political beliefs and my political leanings, mainly collectivism. And collectivism, if you don't know what it is kind of like a political, social, sometimes economic, and not, I don't want to say a thought, but viewpoint, maybe. Like collectivism talks about focusing on the group rather than the individual. The essence of collectivism really lies on this focus on shared identity and mutual responsibility. So that way, you want to have things that are done for the collective good. You care about cohesion rather than pursuing personal gain. Um, you really try to like structure your social circles around what can we do for each other. And it's a really interesting political philosophy and social philosophy that, really prioritizes the needs of the community, society, and the nation over again that of the individual. It's like direct opposite of individualism. And I think nothing is perfect. Like I would never say that collectivism is like the way to go. I mean, collectivism has been used in communist ideas and socialist ideologies, and even sometimes fascist ideologies as well. But I think collectivism is really really good when you are trying to like foster a sense of unity and social cohesion, and it's super great to helping people not feel lonely or alone. Now, I will admit, like, there are some criticisms that are very fair. There's parts of individualism, especially me being American and growing up in it, that, like, it's really hard to let go of. I know some people sometimes will conform or feel like they can't talk about their own personal issues, or that they feel like they are overlooked because they're trying so hard to keep the unity, because they're trying so hard to be in that group think, stay within what is considered the accepted norms of the group. And then again, like it's really, really hard to express individualism in those type of societies, or to like talk about the things you don't like about it, or to have radical ideas of personal ambition, or really, really push back. Some people think it can stifle creativity and critical thinking, and all that exactly agree with. But I think some of that is solved in the idea of the magical girl. Because again, using Sailor Moon is like my main concept. What you see in Sailor Moon is like you don't have five of the same girls. No, you have four, five, seven, up to nine very different individuals, a different context, different power, who will all come together and say, like, hey, this is our goal and we strive for that together. And even though Usagi Sailor Moon is like the leader, and not they like everybody else is better being leader, but like she plays a very important part in there. I'm gonna get to that in a second. But I do want to say like that part of like what I love about the collectivism of magical girls is that like the individual isn't stifled. It is like, but we have to work together to defeat a bigger evil. We have to work together and let our powers combine to really do this thing. And all the parts of us are super important. Like we love the episode when a new girl joins, a new magical girl shows up, because like, oh, now we have this power to do this thing. Oh, now we need this special. Like it's so great to see that all of us, like I think as a group, can help contribute to solving a big problem, which is whatever the evil monster of the week is. Another really thing I think is interesting about collectivism and like the magical girl era is, collectivism isn't that everybody's on the same equal playing field, although that is one version of it. Sometimes there is a hierarchical where there's like a leader or whatnot. And what makes it more utopic in the magical girl sense, especially in Sailor Moon, is that when you have that main leader, like Sailor Moon herself, they also care about the group. Like what makes people trust them, what makes the friendship last, what makes people be able to be like, I will like give you my last because I know you'll give your last back to me, is people who really care about the group as a whole and will do everything they need to. I One thing I will give Usagi and Sailor Moon as a character, she is somebody who like kind of knows who she is, and like hey, I am not perfect. I'm not the most powerful. I mess things up. And like when her friends leave her, or when they're doing the big final battle and all the Sailor Scouts get scattered, and she's like sitting there crying like, guys, where are you? And then she sees her friends all splayed out, like they're dead or their mind's been taken over, mostly to steal a mask because the man can never keep his own mind. He loses his memory, gets brainwashed in every other season. And she's like, oh, I have to do it alone. And while she might be the most powerful of the magical girls, she knows that a lot of her strengths come in working with the people who've like been trying to protect her and save her and do all these things. And you never see Yusagi really pull out her strongest, most desperate moves until she is crying over the dead bodies of her friends. And she's willing to give her life for them. And I think, being able to support a leader like that is it's super like pie in the sky, but something we should aspire to. And that's what like kind of ties in the idea of the elections from the past week for me. Like I don't in general don't trust politicians. It just not me being like pessimistic or anti. It's just I think a lot of people, especially nowadays, who get into politics, or they may start off with good reasons, but as they continue to keep in office for years and years, elections after elections, I think it come off as very self-serving, or they forget about the people that they're working with. Because one, it's super expensive to even run. So you're coming already from a privileged place to be able to do that. And then two, especially if you're doing like Congress or the Senate, you become a millionaire in those offices. Which again, I think like hoarding wealth in that area of those people doesn't make you, a person of the people. Um, and I did think it's a little easier to like still be down with your morals and your causes in a more smaller local election area. I think we need more politicians who are willing to say, like, hey, we're about the group. We're about making sure that everybody is good, the collectiveness of trying to get the greater good for everybody. And I am a vessel to do that. Like, you are giving me the power to go up to people in power and say, hey, this is what I need for my city, my county, my state, my whatever, my district, whatever. Like, I want to make sure that they're okay. And I mean, a lot of people can talk that game, but I think we haven't seen a lot of politicians like really put their money where their mouth is when it comes to like being held responsible to the people they're supposed to represent. And I could call out one particular group because the Republicans are in power right now and they're afraid to go and do town halls and are getting shouted down by their constituents who are like, this is not why I put you in office. You're not helping me. I need these things. And they're like towing a party line versus trying to help their constituents. But I'm not going to say like the Democrats are like infinitely better on that either. But I think we need to have more politicians across any line, across any political party that is like genuine about willing to sacrifice for the people that they are representing. And also realizing the power that we as the voting populace, we are also magical girls. Like we are also the people who are giving the power up to people and making sure that they can go and face the big bad, the evil empire, the worst thing that could possibly happen. And it's super important to me that that happens. And I don't think if we give them power, that politician, that elected official, doesn't mean that we have less power either. And I think watching voting happening on Tuesday, and the way some of these elections did in big states like California, New York, New Jersey, Virginia, and Georgia, kind of seeing how those things went, reminded me of that collective need for us to use our voices, our powers to say, this is the route we want to go and like really like stand firm on that. And if you're like, well, I'm not a magical girl, I don't want to do that. Like, okay, the same thing, the same sentiment can be seen in Sentai. And if you know what Sentai is, that is like generally Power Rangers, magical battle bots. Like we do all that stuff. And Power Rangers, yeah, they're five individual people with their individual powers and their own little Zoids, but at the end, they have to come together to create the Megazoid to defeat the monster that became bigger because Rita made it grow. Big Power Rangers fan, old school Power Rangers fan. So a lot of my references will be from that. Like it's super important. Like, you know, I love that I think I was at a part in my life, especially as I was growing up as a child, where in America where we saw a lot of solo superheroes and then they started getting sidekicks and then they became like leads and teams and then finally it was just animated like no, this is just a team, this is your Sentai, your Power Rangers, this is your Sailor Moons, and like the dynamic works because a team can make more happen. And they're battling this evil empire, they're battling this negaverse, whatever you want to call it. And what you'll see from the big bad is that there are people who come with their own team too. No, they're not alone, but you see throughout the season as they like whittle down monster after monster, lieutenant after general after sergeant, whatever, that the big bad, the big evil person doesn't really care about their people. They're willing to use them as cannon fodder. They're willing to like sell them out to get to the thing that they really need, because they care more about getting power. And I think a lot of folks who are in those politician and those elected official seats right now are the folk who just really care about getting power and selling out whoever they need to get it. And then when they're faced with a Sailor Moon and the Sailor Scouts, and one by one, they defeat them, at the big battle is oftentimes that big evil final boss by themselves, still spouting about how they can do everything themselves, how they don't need their people, how once they have the power that they're trying to sell from the silver crystal or millennium crystal or whatever, then they can like remake things. Like they don't care about the fault that they lost. Where you still hear have Sailor Moon crying over her friends. Create a new Imperial crystal from her heart because she doesn't want to replace the people. She wants her people to come back, be alive, be happy, and that is the true crux of the greater good for her. And I think that's also very beautiful. Um, to be able to do that work and to be able to say like your strength, your sacrifice made me stronger and I'm willing to sacrifice for you as well. If you're talking to a politician, if you're talking to an elected official and they don't believe in making sacrifices to make sure that you are okay, and especially their own personal sacrifices, they're probably someone who shouldn't be in that role. Point blank period. Put it out there in my personal opinion. um but I think again, there's something very beautiful in the collective us coming together and saying that, hey, we have chosen this person, we've given you power, and then we can also do the opposite where we're like, hey, you didn't do what we asked you to do. You didn't prove that you cared about us individual as a group, like as your constituents. So we're gonna take that power away and try to give it to somebody who will show us that. And like I think it's okay to get it wrong, but I think you have to not let them be there for 20 years getting it wrong every single time. Like that is crazy. Absolutely crazy. Um, so yeah, I think it's a little bit more of a political message than normal, but I do think that magical girls can really show us what it means to be in community with each other, to know that we all have a place and a power and a skill and knowledge and that we're needed, that one going down doesn't mean that the whole show stops, but it definitely is felt by the group. And I saw this TikTok years ago, and someone was like, "Hey, like magical girls ain't nothing but like a gang beatdown. It's like getting jumped by 3 to 5 girls," and I was like, "Yeah, that's true." And then someone responded, like, "That's the whole premise of Powerpuff Girls. They ain't nothing but 3 girls jumping your tail for jaywalking, you know." And they're not wrong. I love it. Like it's a silly moon. Like you're not gonna fight one person. You're about to fight seven, sometimes nine, sometimes 10%. Rini and Mini Moon is there. Chibiusa is out here causing her little havoc. So there's just so much to say about not having to face problems on your own, not having to solve problems on your own, sharing the burden, the weight of it all, and then standing up together, proud and defiant to the people that are trying to cause harm to the general world, universe, Neo Tokyo, the kingdom, the moon kingdom, what have you. I want to know, like, are y'all nerds about magical girls too? Are there some magical girl shows I should have been watching that I haven't gotten to? I know there's some newer ones that are like subverting the magical girl genre. I watched like Little Witch, and I don't think I've watched a new magical girl anime in a couple of years. So I gotta get back into the habit of it, even if it's a solo magical girl. I'll give it a try. Madoka Magica kind of just really spoiled me, and now I'm just so picky about my magical girl anime in general. But yeah, I think you have fun. I think we should be about the collective to a point. I think we should be about using our powers for good. And I think we should be about, if we need a leader, a figurehead, a Sailor Moon who is going to lead us into the future with the royal scepter or whatever, that they need to be somebody that we know cares deeply for us and is willing to sacrifice everything for us as well. I don't want to give to a person in power that they're not going to give back to me. And I am also going to be very, very critical of groups of people that invest so much into one being, kind of like in Madoka Magica, how so much was invested in Madoka that she eventually became the MacGuffin. Like, we don't want that to happen. I think there still needs to be spread out accountability across everyone. Um, but I mean, maybe it's not too bad if they are like Madoka and willing to sacrifice themselves for the greater good. But I don't really wish that on anybody, to be honest, politician or no. But yeah, those are some of my thoughts for this week. I'm trying to keep this under 30 minutes because I could go on and on and on and on about magical girls. Um, I wonder if you people have thought about magical girls and sentai being two sides of the same coin. Like you yell at me in the comments if you're like, how dare you ruin my Power Rangers? How dare you ruin my Voltron by comparing it to Sailor Moon? They're two different things. Feel free, yell at me if you think that is true. I think they're the same part. They're just like the boy version of that girl thing, whatever. And there's just so many great things about Magical Girl properties outside of the group working to end a threat. Clearly there's tons of video essays about the importance of magical girl content, whether it be the anime, the manga, the history, all over YouTube. I watch a lot of those stuff. There are some great creators who have done like the really due diligence to dig into it. But I'm not here to do that. I'm here to tell you that the word is, if you are a Sailor Moon fan, then you should be working in groups of people and thinking about the greater good and collective good instead of trying to pick one person to solve all your problems for one particular thing. That's no bueno. No bueno, my dad at all. But that's it for me. I will see you next week. Bye. The Blurred Church of Anime podcast is produced by Blackstar, aka Lauren Tillman, written by Lauren Tillman, and hosted by Lauren Tillman. Music created by EL47.